The sky above Seoul was unusually calm that morning. Captain Jaehwa Park sat in the dimly lit monitoring room, his eyes fixed on the array of screens displaying global communication networks. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, until a strange signal began to pulse across multiple frequencies. At first, the signal appeared random, a series of mathematical sequences that didn't match any known communication protocol. But Jaehwa knew better. His years of experience in military intelligence had taught him that randomness often concealed something more significant. The communication center buzzed with quiet tension. Young technicians whispered among themselves, fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Senior analysts reviewed the incoming data, their faces growing more serious with each passing minute. "Sir," a junior analyst named Hyun-Ki called out, "we're detecting an unusual transmission pattern." He expanded a holographic display showing complex geometric patterns interwoven with mathematical calculations that seemed to defy conventional understanding. Jaehwa leaned closer. The patterns weren't just random mathematical sequences. They were a deliberate message. Something was trying to communicate, and it wasn't from Earth. Within hours, global scientific communities were alerted. Research centers from California to Tokyo began analyzing the transmission. Quantum physicists, linguists, and communication experts worked together, attempting to decode the mysterious signal. The first clear message came unexpectedly, not in complex scientific language, but in a simple, almost clinical statement. Territorial, survey initiated, resource evaluation in progress. Military installations worldwide went on high alert. Satellites were repositioned, tracking systems calibrated to monitor any potential incoming objects. The message suggested something was coming, something that viewed Earth as nothing more than a potential resource to be harvested. Jaehwa understood the implications immediately. This wasn't a peaceful first contact scenario. This was a prelude to potential invasion. At the Global Defense Command Center, emergency protocols were activated. Networks that had previously existed in isolated silos now connected seamlessly. Military, scientific, and governmental systems merged into a unified response mechanism. Satellite imagery began showing unusual disturbances in deep space. Massive energy signatures that didn't match any known human technology started appearing at the edge of our solar system. Something big was approaching. The transmission continued, growing more detailed. It described Earth in clinical terms, its resources, population density, technological capabilities. But the language was detached, almost predatory. Humans were being assessed like cattle, evaluated for potential exploitation. Hyun-Ki's hands trembled as he translated the incoming data. "They're categorizing our planet's resources," he mumbled. "Water systems, mineral deposits, population centers. It's like we're being inventoried." Jaehwa's mind raced. Military strategy wasn't just about firepower anymore. It was about understanding an unknown enemy's psychology, their technological capabilities, their potential weaknesses. The global scientific community worked around the clock. Physicists calculated potential technological gaps. Military strategists war-gamed potential scenarios. Every simulation suggested that direct confrontation would be catastrophic. But humans had always been adaptable. Throughout history, they had survived by being unpredictable, by finding solutions where none seemed possible. As the day progressed, the transmission became more explicit. The approaching entities identified themselves simply as the Collective, a name that suggested a unified, emotionless, technological civilization. Their message was clear. Earth's resources were now of interest. Resistance would be futile. Submission was the recommended response. What the Collective didn't know was how humans responded to threats. They didn't understand the complex network of human determination, the ability to unite against a common enemy, the innovative spirit that had driven humanity to explore, survive, and conquer challenges throughout its history. Jaehwa looked around. The room. Young technicians, seasoned analysts, everyone shared the same look, a mixture of fear, curiosity, and an emerging sense of defiance. This was more than a potential invasion. This was a moment that would define humanity's future among the stars. The first ships appeared like silent ghosts against the early morning sky over Seoul. Lieutenant Yoon-ki Kim watched from a reinforced observation post as massive metallic vessels descended, their surfaces reflecting a cold, alien light that seemed to drain color from everything around them. Initial reports came in rapidly. Multiple global cities were simultaneously targeted: New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai. The invasion wasn't random. It was calculated, precise, and designed to create maximum psychological impact. The alien ships didn't immediately attack. Instead, they hovered, broadcasting a repetitive message in multiple languages. Surrender is recommended. Resistance will result in complete elimination. Their technology was so advanced that conventional military systems seemed almost primitive. In comparison, Yoon-ki's team had been preparing for something like this. Underground research centers had been developing adaptive defense technologies, systems designed to counter threats that couldn't be predicted through traditional military strategies. The first wave of alien ground units emerged from their ships, mechanical beings that moved with unnatural precision. They walked like machines, their movements synchronized, each step calculated to maximum efficiency. Weapons integrated directly into their body structures suggested they were more than simple soldiers. They were living weapons. Military units worldwide responded, but traditional combat strategies proved ineffective. Tanks were disabled by energy weapons that could melt steel in milliseconds. Fighter jets were knocked out of the sky before they could even launch their first missile. But humans had one advantage the collective hadn't anticipated: unpredictability. In Seoul, Yoon-ki activated a network of modified drones. These weren't standard military equipment. They were experimental devices that could adapt their communication frequencies faster than any known tracking system. Each drone carried a mixture of electronic warfare tools and small explosive charges. The first drone swarm hit the alien ground units like a digital hurricane. They didn't attack conventionally. Instead, they disrupted communication frequencies, sent false navigation signals, and created massive electromagnetic interference. The alien units, designed for precise, predictable combat, suddenly found themselves in a chaotic environment they couldn't comprehend. Their synchronized movements broke down. Communication between units became scrambled. Meanwhile, civilian infrastructure played an unexpected role. Internet networks, previously seen as communication tools, became weapons. Hackers from around the world coordinated attacks, feeding false information into alien systems, creating digital labyrinths that confused their advanced algorithms. Yoon-ki watched as the first alien ground unit malfunctioned. Its movements became erratic, its weapon systems firing randomly. It was a small victory, but a significant one. Humans had shown they could fight back. The collective hadn't expected resistance. Their initial assessment of human technology had been based on traditional metrics: military power, industrial capacity, technological advancement. They hadn't considered human creativity, the ability to improvise, to turn limitations into strengths. In Mumbai, engineers repurposed industrial machinery into makeshift weapons. In New York, university research labs became emergency development centers. In Tokyo, communication networks transformed into sophisticated defense coordination platforms. The invasion was brutal, but humans were proving resilient. Each alien attack was met with a response that defied conventional military logic. Where the collective expected systematic defense, they encountered chaos, beautiful, unpredictable chaos. Yoon-ki's team continued their electronic warfare. They weren't just defending, they were learning. Every interaction with alien technology provided new information, new possibilities for counterattack. By nightfall, the initial invasion had stalled. The collective's perfect invasion plan had encountered something they hadn't anticipated: a species that refused to be categorized, that could transform weakness into strength, that saw every challenge as an opportunity to innovate. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was ready. Yunki looked out over the city, watching alien ships hover against the darkening sky. Something fundamental had changed. This was no longer just a battle for survival. This was a statement, a declaration that humanity would not be easily conquered. Dr. Hyejin Choi's underground research facility hummed with intense energy. Scattered across massive work tables were pieces of alien technology, fragments of destroyed invasion units, captured communication devices, and unidentified technological components that seemed to defy known scientific principles. The global scientific community had transformed overnight. Universities, research centers, and private laboratories were now unified under a single mission: understand and neutralize the alien threat. Competitive boundaries disappeared, replaced by an unprecedented level of international cooperation. Hyejin carefully examined a small metallic component that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Traditional analysis methods failed. The material responded differently to each test, changing its molecular structure in ways that contradicted everything known about physics. Her team worked in shifts, rotating between research, analysis, and rapid prototyping. Young scientists who months ago were working on theoretical research now found themselves at the cutting edge of humanity's survival strategy. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. A junior researcher named Min Seo discovered that the alien technology responded to specific electromagnetic frequencies that mimicked human brainwave patterns. It was as if the technology was almost alive. Laboratories around the world began sharing data in real time. What seemed like random discoveries in one location became crucial puzzle pieces in another. A signal intercepted in Berlin would help a team in Tokyo understand a complex technological problem. The collective had expected to find a primitive species. Instead, they encountered a global network of human intelligence that could adapt faster than any technological system they had encountered. Prototype weapons began to emerge, not traditional guns or missiles, but sophisticated electronic warfare devices that could disrupt alien communication networks, confuse their navigation systems, and essentially turn their own technology against them. Hyejin's team developed a particularly ingenious solution. By creating a complex algorithm that could predict and mirror alien communication patterns, they developed a technological language that could infiltrate and potentially control alien systems. Military installations became secondary to research centers. Every captured piece of alien technology was a potential weapon. Engineers worked alongside quantum physicists. Computer scientists collaborated with materials experts. The traditional boundaries of scientific disciplines dissolved. The global response was unlike anything in human history. Within weeks of the initial invasion, humanity had gone from a collection of separate nations to a unified technological force. The internet, once a communication tool, had become the nervous system of a global resistance. Satellite networks were repurposed. Communication systems became tracking platforms. Consumer electronics manufacturers converted production lines to create advanced defensive technologies. Every resource, every bit of human creativity was now focused on survival. The collective's initial confidence began to waver. Their advanced systems, designed to categorize and neutralize potential threats, found themselves constantly surprised by human innovation. Each time they developed a strategy, humans would find an unexpected counter. In the research facility, Hyejin watched a holographic display showing the rapid evolution of their technological responses. What had started as desperate survival was becoming something more, a fundamental reimagining of technological potential. Their discoveries went beyond just creating weapons. They were learning about adaptive technologies, systems that could think and respond like living organisms. The line between technology and intelligence was becoming increasingly blurred. One of the most significant breakthroughs was a communication disruption device that could essentially confuse alien technological systems. It didn't destroy their technology. It made it temporarily incomprehensible, like speaking a language that makes no sense. The war had transformed from a physical conflict to a technological chess match, and humans were proving to be unexpected grandmasters. As night fell, Hyojin looked around her team. Young faces filled with determination, hope burning bright in their eyes. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to prove that human potential was limitless. Commander Minho Quan stood on the bridge of the modified starship, watching the massive holographic display that tracked human and alien fleet movements. The ship was unlike anything humans had built before, a perfect blend of captured alien technology and human ingenuity. The turning point came slowly, then all at once. What had started as a desperate defense had transformed into a calculated offensive strategy. Humanity had spent months studying the collective's technological and strategic weaknesses, and now they were ready to strike. Global industrial capacity had been completely reorganized. Every factory, every research center, every technological hub now worked toward a single goal. The entire planet had become a massive war machine, adapting and evolving faster than the collective could comprehend. Communication networks that once connected social media now coordinated complex military strategies. Civilian technology experts worked alongside military planners, creating strategies that defied traditional warfare concepts. The collective's rigid algorithmic approach couldn't match human creativity. The first major counteroffensive began near Jupiter's orbit. A fleet of modified ships, each one a unique combination of captured alien technology and human innovation, moved with a fluidity that seemed almost impossible. They weren't just fighting, they were dancing between alien vessels. Minho watched as their experimental quantum communication systems began to overwhelm the collective's defense networks. What the aliens had considered impenetrable was now being systematically dismantled by human technological creativity. Smaller ships moved like living things, using gravitational fields and electromagnetic pulses in ways the collective's battle computers couldn't predict. Each ship was more than a weapon. It was a living entity adapting in real time to the battle environment. The psychological impact was devastating. The collective had viewed humans as a primitive species, good only for resource extraction. Now they were facing a technological force that seemed to break every known rule of warfare and technological development. Research teams on Earth continued their work. Every captured alien system became a new opportunity for innovation. Universities had transformed into continuous research platforms, with students and professors working around the clock to develop new technologies. Communication intercepts revealed the growing panic within the collective's command structure. Their perfect logical systems were being dismantled by an enemy that refused to follow any predictable pattern. Humans were fighting with emotion, creativity, and an unpredictability that no algorithm could fully understand. Minho's tactical team had developed something extraordinary, a communication weapon that could essentially confuse alien technological systems. It didn't destroy their technology. It made it temporarily incomprehensible, like speaking a language that makes no sense. The battle near Jupiter became a symbol of human potential. Smaller human ships moved between massive collective vessels, using gravitational fields and electromagnetic pulses in ways that defied traditional combat logic. They weren't just fighting, they were reimagining the very concept of warfare. Young pilots, many who had grown up with video games and complex simulation technologies, now used those skills in real combat. Their ability to adapt, to think several steps ahead, became their greatest weapon. The collective's rigid battle algorithms couldn't compete with human intuition. Global communication networks became more than just information platforms. They were now living, breathing tactical systems that could coordinate complex military strategies in milliseconds. What the collective saw as a weakness, human emotional complexity, became their greatest strength. As the battle progressed, it became clear that this was more than a fight for survival. This was a statement about human potential. Every destroyed alien vessel was a testament to human creativity, adaptability, and unwillingness to be categorized or controlled. Minho realized they were doing more than fighting an alien invasion. They were redefining what it meant to be a technological species. The line between technology and living intelligence was becoming increasingly blurred. The collective had made a fundamental mistake. They had viewed humans as a resource to be harvested, a primitive species to be controlled. Instead, they had awakened a force of nature, a species that could turn any challenge into an opportunity for growth and innovation. As the battle near Jupiter reached its climax, one thing became absolutely clear. Humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting to prove their place among the stars. The final battle erupted in the cold darkness of space, just beyond Jupiter's massive gravitational field. Captain HFY Park stood on the bridge of the modified starship, watching the most critical moment in human history unfold. Thousands of ships filled the void, a mixture of human vessels that looked nothing like traditional spacecraft. Each ship was a unique creation, built from captured alien technology and human innovation. They moved like living things, adapting to the battle in real time. Massive alien motherships hung in space, their once perfect technological systems now struggling against human unpredictability. The collective's communication networks were breaking down, their strategic algorithms failing to comprehend the chaotic human approach to warfare. HFY's team had spent months studying every piece of captured alien technology. They weren't just fighting, they were rewriting the rules of technological engagement. Each modified ship carried weapons that blended quantum computing with biological adaptive systems. Dr. Hyejin Choi's research team had made the final breakthrough. They had discovered a way to communicate with the alien technology, to speak a language of frequencies and quantum signals that could essentially confuse the collective's most advanced systems. The battle wasn't just about firepower. It was a complex dance of technological adaptation. Human ships moved with an organic fluidity that defied traditional combat logic. Where the collective expected systematic defense, they encountered beautiful, unpredictable chaos. Communication networks across Earth were now fully integrated. What had started as internet platforms had transformed into a global nervous system, coordinating the most complex military operation in human history. Every person was part of the defense. Smaller human ships darted between massive alien vessels, using gravitational fields and electromagnetic pulses in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. Young pilots, many who had grown up with advanced simulation technologies, now used those skills in real combat. The collective's leadership watched in growing horror. Their perfect invasion plan, their assessment of humans as a primitive species was completely dismantled. Humans weren't just fighting. They were reimagining the very concept of technological warfare. As the battle reached its climax, something extraordinary happened. The human ships began to communicate with each other in ways that went beyond traditional communication. It was almost like they were thinking as a single massive intelligent system. HFY watched the holographic display, seeing how each ship moved in perfect harmony. They weren't just a fleet. They were a living, breathing organism of technological innovation. The line between technology and intelligence had completely disappeared. The final blow came unexpectedly. A coordinated signal, developed by Dr. Hyejin's team, spread through the collective's communication networks. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a complex mathematical sequence that essentially broke their technological understanding. Alien ships began to malfunction. Their perfect logical systems collapsed under the weight of human creativity. What the collective had seen as weakness, human emotional complexity, our ability to adapt and think beyond logical boundaries, became their ultimate defeat. As the last alien mothership began to break apart, a message was broadcast. Not a message of victory, but of something more profound. It was a statement about human potential, about our ability to transform challenges into opportunities. The battle near Jupiter became more than a military engagement. It was a turning point in human history. They had proven that technological superiority wasn't about perfect systems, but about the ability to adapt, to think creatively, to see beyond existing limitations. HFY looked out at the expanding field of destroyed alien vessels. They had done more than defend their planet. They had shown the universe what humanity was truly capable of. In the communication sent to the remaining collective leadership, Dr. Hai Jin's message was simple and clear. This is what happens when you mess with humans.